Okay, we're joining this hour live. This hour 7 a.m. live with Jessica Ceballos, Campbell. Very, very, very excited to be talking to you this hour. Jessica is a poet, a curator, does incredible work over at Avenue 50 and all throughout the city of Los Angeles. So, very, very excited, Jessica, to have you here. Can you before we get started, though, I want to talk about all the projects you've done across the city and, a lot of the work you're known for and some of the things you got coming up. But can you tell us how you got started? I mean, how'd you get started? How'd you get involved?
How did I get
Like in
involved?
poetry and stuff.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Good. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
you did.
Okay. Um, how I got started. So, I mean, honestly, the how I really got started, because I used to be really interested in the poetry scene in LA, like in the '90s. But how I really got started was in around 2010 or 11. I was going through an ugly divorce, and I that's when I really started going to open mics and to help, like just to help out. I was writing poetry again. The marriage I was in was was kind of abusive, was abusive, and I really couldn't do my art, do my work that I wanted to do. So when I started to separate from that, I started finding my legs again, I guess. And I started going out, and then I went to Beyond Baroque's Wednesday Writers thing, and then again, and I started going to like a Cobalt Cafe, and then and I've always gone to Avenue 50, but never in some I never read or anything like that, but and then honestly, Rafael Alvarado started talking to me about hosting some stuff at Cobalt Cafe. And you know what? Yago Kura started talking to me at Beyond Baroque. He was doing stuff over there about facilitating a workshop, Latino, you know, Latino American / American poetry of the 20th century. A little workshop. It was great. And then I started hosting stuff at Beyond Baroque, and then I started to host and to curate Poesía para la Gente at Avenue 50. And then I did the Bluebird reading, and then I just really loved all of it, which you've been a huge part of for those Metro readings, and I think before, like Poesía para la Gente was happening for a while, and even before, I think you participated, like with before I came into the picture, but yeah, that's
Can you tell us a little bit about so a lot of what we're trying to do here is capture kind of the oral histories of like venues and presses and different stuff. So can you tell us the
yeah.
history of a Cobalt Cafe
I
or
don't
about
know I don't know the
not the
history.
history, but just
I
the
mean, yeah, it's not there anymore, which is crazy. But
I know.
I think so. It had by the time I joined, it had been around for 20 years, I think. And it's an all ages venue, which was a fantastic venue for punk and rock and like some hip hop. Um, and really in the valley, in the deep valley, Canoga Park, and I don't, one of the only places. And '90s were pretty good with all ages spaces. So, but that was one of the only places. And then and Rick Looper hosted every Tuesday. I want to say it was every Tuesday for 20 years. Hosted Cobalt Cafe,
Yeah.
and yeah, he brought together poets from all over LA. I think everybody has read there, and he put a broadside together, designed it and everything. Had them choose a poem, and he has like stacks and stacks of hundreds of broadsides. And he really like they're big. Some of them are pretty big, like standard size, and 11 by 17 or whatever. So it would be an expensive book, but he really should make a book out of those.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Do you
they're
remember?
so
Do you
cute.
remember? Did you have broadside? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah. I have a broadside. I might
Well,
have
what,
two, but everyone, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool.
do you remember what they looked like, or what they were, or how they?
Mine, no, I have no. I don't have a memory anymore. I don't know what's going. I mean, I remember all this stuff, but I don't remember. No, I don't remember mine at all. Really bad poetry, though. I know that mine were really bad, horrible.
I had a giant pig on mine.
Ah.
Yeah, it was like LA's
Do you
whole
remember
pig.
when you read? When you read
I want to say 2000 and
14 or something?
somewhere in there, 2013, 14. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I think I remember.
Oh wow, but you don't remember your own.
Yeah, no, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah. All right, so tell us a little bit about hosting over at Avenue 50 with starting with the Bluebird reading, or you start with poetry.
Poesía para la gente,
Poesía
poetry
para la
for
gente.
people. Yeah, yeah.
Tell us about poesía.
Poesía. That was great. That is poetry. It was. I think. Kathy got the idea from Teatro Campesino. Um, so the idea is to bring poetry out to the people where it belongs, right? Into the streets, and and of course it was centered on. I don't like to separate politics and poetry. I think it's always together, and but that was the intention, was to make it political, politicize it. Uh, and and I just came in, and it wasn't happening for a couple months or something, and it was a lot of work, but I just curated a whole bunch of people from all over, try to bring people together, bridge that little communication divide thing, um, and cultural divide, and I brought people to, let's see, the first one. What was the first one? We did laundromat. We did a poetry reading at Guerrero's Market, which has been gentrified. It's still empty, um, on York, and that was great. Um, and then we started to do that. We did it at Home Depot with the day laborers, which we had some day laborers who were Zapatista poets, like back in the day, and and they hadn't read poetry. That was a beautiful reading, by the way, which you were a part of.
Hmm?
And I think the ones that I loved were the Metro, the bringing poetry back to the buses. Those were a lot of fun. Um, and we did all the lines. We did the blue lines, the red line, the gold line, and then
I
I
had to
got
chase
bored.
after the bus.
Huh? The park?
No, when we're in
In
the bus,
McCarthy?
I had to chase after the bus. Almost got lost on the gold line.
What?
I almost got disconnected. I had to chase after one of the not the bus, but the metro.
Oh, that was like South Pass or something, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Almost
that
got
one
lost.
was it was filmed. That whole
Yeah,
thing was
I was
filmed by Ernesto. What's his name? Quintanilla, or remember, he's a really great guy. I think he's like a editor for ESPN or something. But he has all
like,
this really great footage, and he just, it's a lot of work to put together.
yeah,
But yeah, that was so much fun, and I got bored with it after a while. You get bored with doing the same thing. But um, I had a good talk with someone about that, like about your art and about work, and how it needs to change and how it needs to be different. But when you put a curator hat on, it's you don't realize that you still have that artist kind of mentality where you need things new and fresh and moving. But sometimes when you're curating, you have to ignore that, because there's especially with that kind of event, there's always going to be new people involved, and it's always going to be fresh for someone else.
yeah,
So I mean, I really wanted to keep it going, but I felt super suffocated, which is why it's hard to be a curator, unless for something like that. I don't know, but I don't know how people host readings for 10 years. Wendy Ortiz had hers for 10 years at the Good Luck Bar. Like, I don't know how people do that. I don't know.
yeah.
It's
So, well, how about moving on to the Bluebird reading? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that was a reading inspired by somebody. I'm like, yeah, let's do a reading. I want to do a reading, and that was it. I'm like, okay, and there's really nothing to it. I really wanted to do something that brought musicians, maybe, poets, different kinds of poets together, writers, and it was a lot of fun. It was, I think, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years on. At Avenue 50. I mean,
Yeah. So so can you tell us a little more about kind of the role of what happened? So when did I'll ask that question later, but when did La Palabra start? When did that begin?
that started roughly 2001 or 2002. It was right after Avenue 50 started, opened.
Okay.
Um, and that was started not by Rafael Alvarado. I can't remember his name. It was a guy, and I always forget his name. Mark something, or I don't know. But Rafael had a big part of that beginning also. And um, yeah, that thing. And then there was just always, but there were different hosts from Don Newton, Laura Longoria, Louis Vett, Karine, now Angelina. There's I've never hosted that, um, but that was always it was always meant to be kind of a reflection of what Avenue 50 Studio is, which is an art space centered on Chicano, Latino, um, and African American diaspora. So which is great. Yeah, and I think when I brought Bluebird, I wanted to add to that, but then also, um, yeah, but be a little more diverse and not just poetry. So,
So what are some ways that you changed up the medium at Bluebird?
um, I think I think I think just it was a reflection of what I'm interested in, which is like some avant-garde music, wacky weird stuff. I was interested in I'm interested in more hybrid type poetry. But then I also had like um, story. Not all poetry. I think La Palabra is poetry. But yeah, I think it's pretty specific with poetry. So I just want to branch out from that, even though I love poetry. I just want to offer something different, I
Yeah.
think.
So what are some of this weird, wacky stuff that you would bring to
Um,
the table?
well, not just people coming, their style and their just. I was open to the open mic. I think was the funnest. I wanted people to feel welcome to. But then I didn't like. I don't know. It's weird. I opened up I opened the open. I welcomed an open mic
Mm.
that was encouraging for everybody to come to 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 read and to bring their personalities. But you know how that can be with an open mic at a poetry reading. It could get racist. It could get weird. Like just it could get rude. Um, but yeah, that wasn't cool. But let's see. There were there were musicians who came and they would perform Terry Riley stuff. They would just do stuff that other people in the space either wasn't familiar with or didn't consider art or didn't consider music. So like I would get messages the next day like that was that was horrible. That wasn't music, like or that was not poetry and stuff like that. Which is funny. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, no, open mics can definitely get out of hand really quickly. You're never sure what to do. You're never sure. You're sitting there as a what do you call it, as a host. There's like these nodal lines that you're not sure if something crossed or not.
Yeah,
Like,
and especially if you're in a space that has its own like history, has its own community, like has built its own kind of not following, it has its center, and then you go in there and you're not really a part of that center, and then you
yeah,
bring other people that are like, and then there's just this little collision happening. I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah. No, those are interesting moments. I had a few. I especially had a few at Corazon del Pueblo when I bring people. I was like, oh,
Oh my god.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can imagine.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun though.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the you had not just these large readings, but you'd have like these kind of events that sometimes I mean the one that comes to my mind, but I'd be interested there were more was this was once Mexico when you had an exhibit that also you also produced a book of poetry and some Fresias. Can you tell us about that and also about other similar?
It was this used to be Mexico, right? Um that one I'm trying to look up um let's see here. That was obviously that was 2017. It was right after no, I think it was 2016. It was in response to hold on, there's a trash truck. Let me see. It was in response to Trump when I'm trying to find some the people who were involved, but it was in response to Trump's when he remember his first announcement around the time like he first announced he was going to run for president.
Yeah,
I think one of the first things he talked about was Mexicans
yeah,
and how he wants to like basically yeah build a wall and he was pretty he was saying some pretty shitty stuff and that was a response. It was an art project. Who was it that curated it? It wasn't. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready with this question. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, was it Val Echeverria? I don't think it was Val. But anyways, but it was curated at Abbey 50. It was an art exhibit, and I was asked to curate the poetry segment of it, which was in the back space, and we I asked poets to put their responses on the wall, and it was beautiful. But it was hard. It was hard times, you know. And also, I mean, when and I asked people who are not Mexican, who are not you know, are Mexican American or Chicanx, and because it's, in my opinion, wasn't only about Mexicans, right? Because a lot of people who cross those borders, um, refugees coming from war or whatever, are not only Mexican. I mean, we're all, you know, it's yeah, it's not only Mexico, but also this land. When we say Mexico or Mexico, this this land was, you know, a part of Mexico. It is that people forget. So,
yeah.
and that's also indigenous.
Mm. So what was another? So I mean, so the exhibit included like a lot of Fresias of the writing on the wall next to the paintings.
Yeah, it was
Or was
great.
this Fresias?
Yeah, what was it?
Well, maybe I'm now I'm rethinking. Maybe it wasn't exactly Frasies because it wasn't in response to the paintings, but it was
Yeah.
Frasies on your part as a curator because you decided what poems to pair with which paintings.
Well, some of them, yeah. I mean, no, I didn't pair. I I didn't pair the poets. I didn't curate the poets based on the artists. I curated the poets based on the voices, right? Their voices and the voices that they brought to the table in their work and all that that spoke to this and or that I knew would have something to say. So, but so I think a couple of them did write in response to a piece of work. They wanted to be next to a particular piece of work because it made them feel something. So yeah, in a sense, and I don't remember who um, which poets did that, but a couple did. Um, but most poets had knew exactly what they were going to say, um, and they they came out and wrote it immediately.
Yeah. So tell us about there's been other things. There's been other events that have been kind of
But
cool.
that had that I think that was the first time at Avenue 50 Studio where I simultaneously put together a chapbook, and that's like that started
Right.
that little project that I like to do,
Yeah.
which is where I put together chapbooks and kind of in collaboration with an art exhibit that happens. So that was fun. That and I like having a historical document um, archived.
Can you tell us about some of the other chapbooks you put together to
Um,
the exhibits?
yeah, so I have a project through my new I guess it's, I don't know if it's a press, but it's a library alternative field, and we publish chapbooks that speak to issues of our community. So, and it's, a lot of times in collaboration with Avenue 50 Studio and the art exhibits. But let's see, we did one on Earth, on the climate, on climate change. We've done it on displacement. I've done like two on displacement, one on gentrification specifically, one on displacement. Um, because
Published chapbooks.
there are
Um,
different reasons for displacement. What's that?
issues.
Oh, and I've done it. I've done on mental health. We've done chapbooks just on, we've done, I think, five La Palabra chapbooks. I've done, yeah, we've done a lot on readings. We host Glendale Community College English department. We have an annual kind of reading and celebration for that entire department. We have about 12 students that write for a little, we put together a little chapbook for them, which is a lot of fun and stuff like that. Like, yeah, a lot of one on immigration. And we have so many coming up. We have one coming up right now. There's an open call. Um, it's about the pandemic, in response to the pandemic. And I already have, there's a few of us, reading, judging, and then there's prizes. There's a first, second, third prize, and then there's also an honorarium for everybody who's published. But we have now, it's through Submittable. We have like 120 submissions, and it's national, and we're prioritizing, people traditionally marginalized from this industry, and it's, I would say, like, out of those 118 submissions, each submission is like three poems. So that's like over 300 poems.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Well,
reading. So we'll see.
yeah. So I want to talk about some of the projects you have coming up at Avenue 50, but I kind of want to take a little detour right now before we get into that. Can you tell us a little bit about the work you did putting together the was it the Latino Writers Conference?
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, it's such a great. I was invited by Latino Arts Network to help produce. I guess it was 2018, maybe 2017, to help produce a gathering of Latina writers. Basically, that was the original iteration, and what it did was the focus. All it was, very simple, is to bring together a diverse group of women, Latina, uh, who identify as Latina, and writers to talk about their craft. Um, and and then we hashed it out, and we planned it to be a conference, basically, of a few panels on genre, on politics, mental health, different things, and we talked about that stuff. And it was a space that was open to to criticism and to reflection and to, yeah, and to the craft.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great conversations that came out of that from within, like those of us who were part of it, but then also from the community who came, and it was open, and then it grew. The second one was like even bigger. It was like twice the size. We had Sherry Moraga speak. We always have we have a keynote, and then someone gets an award. Trini Rodriguez was the awardee. And then Gloria Enedina Alvarez was a recipient of an award. So it was great. that, and then this one that we're planning, which who knows now what's going on. Sorry, there's a helicopter. Can you hear that?
A little bit, but you know,
But now it's, yeah. I mean, we're
that's
planning
character.
something. We don't know what's going to happen, but we have some really great people involved with this one, coming up, and it's done a little differently, but I'm really proud of that. It's, yeah, pretty proud.
Proud. All right, can you tell us about some of the work that you got coming up at Avenue 50?
I'm I I don't have much other than this open call.
Yeah,
I'm actually, because I'm starting this alternative field. It's a nonprofit that is a basically, and it's, I'm kind of trying to step away from Avenue 50. So alternative field is on York. It's on York and 57, and it's a little space within a bigger like retail store, really cute store, and it's a library. It's a multilingual library. We're online. We have our catalog online, and it's a reading space, and it's a resource center where people can get information about their community, anything really, and mostly resources, in the neighborhood, and somewhere where the community, the local community, can come and get help on writing, on tenants' rights, on mental health care. So basically, my what I'm hoping on starting is some conversations and some events that ask the question, like, what happens after the reading. So we have readings. I love readings, but what do poets do after the reading? Like, how can we use our poetry to effectively move our community to a better place, right? To like where we're supposed to be as humans, as humans together. And I think poetry is has the capacity to do that. And yeah, so all the events that we're going to have, whether they're film events, discussions, dinners, workshops, are going to center on a book of poetry, written by a Black Indigenous writer of color, poet of color, hopefully local, and we're gonna, it's gonna center on that book, basically any event that we have, um, which I'm hoping, hopefully that starts soon, as soon as all this stuff is done.
yeah.
Um,
So what was the impetus for this? What was the seed that
well, I had a lot of poetry books, and then I was like, I want to put these together. And then I have a dear, dear friend, Jen Hoffer, who had a huge amount of boxes of journals that we had talked about, making something for space for, and so that was a part of my first collection of in this library. But I have always, so while I was facilitator of these and curator and host of these readings and workshops, I would, when I'm curating the reading, in the middle of between the time between the first reading and the next reading, or time between readings, right? I was always dreading the next reading. Like, I love readings, and I appreciate reading. I appreciate them as a platform to sell books. I appreciate them as a platform for discussion, but I'm on it. I'll be honest, they're boring sometimes. They're hard to host, hard to curate, um, and exhausting and everything. At the end of a reading, I'm really excited. I was like, oh my god, that was so amazing! Like, I'm crying or whatever. But I've always kind of like, I'm like, all right, what's next? And which is why I was so interested in people like Writ Large Press and all of those people I've been involved with, that have really explored, what it means to be a poet, right? And but I've always wondered, like, okay, let's stop. Like, what happens after the reading? We can have a chat. We can talk about the work we have to do to end, patriarchy or whatever people want to end. Um, or police murders or whatever. So how do we do that? And then I was like, we need a space for that, or to talk about how to do that. That isn't a bar, or isn't it's a place for kids to come to, or for anybody to come and kind of engage those conversations. And yeah, and I thought that was, I've kind of, I didn't know how it would look, or what that meant, that kind of space, but um, that's how it came about.
Yeah. No, that's so. I'm curious.
Yeah.
This kind of conversations made me kind of curious. You're like this like reluctant curator. Like you like this like. I,
I love people. Well, I think the thing is, I love people, right? Like,
Mhm.
I really do. Like, I don't know. I mean, I hate people, but I also I love people, and they trip me out. They're interesting. People are interesting, and I love it when people come together and like hang out, and they get to know each other, and like who have never met before, and they hit it off, and I don't know. There's something beautiful about that, and it's like, how some people say they love hope, and they love the idea of hope, because it's motivating. To me, this is like beyond that. Like like a reading, like curating something, putting something together is a manifestation, like a it's almost like a manifestation of hope, right? It's like the next step. It's a and there's something very fulfilling about putting two people together in a space, or saying welcome, come in. I don't know, there's something very fulfilling about that. Creating a home and inviting people to dinner, but it's exhausting. And I'm a introvert, extrovert. I have social anxieties. I'm constantly exhausted by people at the same time, so, and all the energies. um so that, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the reluctancy, I guess. So,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I think I have a high threshold for people.
high threshold.
Yeah. But it's starting to break down with
It's
all these
breaking down now, even now with the
no, not with
isolation.
you, but no, in general.
No, no, not right now, but like with isolation and like your
No,
distance.
no, because we're isolated, but I've conducted like 160 interviews within like 2 weeks.
It's crazy. I don't know how you
So
do
like, yeah, so I have a pretty high threshold for people and just like,
it.
oh, tell me more. But like this kind of like, don't tell me more. It's starting to kick in. Like, oh, it's too much information. I don't even know what the hell's
Yeah.
going on anymore. Yeah. So I hear you. It can be overwhelming to curate
Well, see,
to
but see, I think that's a that's interesting, because I actually would love to. I want to know more. Like at the readings, for me, the readings weren't, while I loved, it felt fulfilling to invite people and to say, welcome people into a space. I wanted more. Like, I want those deep conversations. I want that. Which is why I want to go back to school to be a therapist, and like, that's something that interests me, and social work interests me. But and activism, right? The tenants' rights stuff with the LA Tenants Union. But I want to engage like deeply. I think more than anything. And I think that's why this Zoom stuff is like frustrating for me sometimes, unless there's like a deep conversation there. But that's interesting what you're saying. Like, you don't want that. You've
no.
done 160
That's
interviews.
why, because I know it's not that you don't want it. It's at 130 or something like that. Then you start getting into this
And how long of time?
like
For 3
Doctor
weeks?
Matt, about 2.5 weeks.
That's a lot. I think you're gonna
Yeah,
get burnt out.
yeah.
Like,
You
I
get this
think there's something there.
yeah. There's like Doctor Manhattan phase where you kind of just like see through. You know, you're talking to them, but you're just like, all
Yeah.
right, like all these elements of things people care about, your own ability to. I don't know, it gets weird. It's getting weird.
Yeah. That's wild. Are you recording them?
They're all recorded. Yeah.
What made you want to do this?
So I started off kind of so I gave myself a really intense work schedule once quarantine hit. Like once I would say like the quarantine really really set in and all the colleges started shutting down and everything got canceled. I ended up losing about $8,000 in about
Yeah.
2 days, about a day and a half, just in terms of contracts, just all gone. And so I'm like, okay. And I started reaching out to people with projects, and they didn't want to talk. They were like, I need to take care of my kid right now. I have a
Yeah.
dog, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, all right. I can't work on my projects either. So what I can't control is my own productivity. So I'm gonna like just whatever. So I gave myself this intense work schedule where every hour was accounted for just different little projects, right?
Yeah.
And then after a while, after like about a week and a half of that, maybe a little more, but maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks of that, I got really like I started getting really like depressed or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this thing with a professor. We've been talking every week using the system Be Live about Capital, the book by Marx. And so we were discussing a chapter for an hour each Monday. And so
Whoa. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Be Be Live gives me three things. So there's 4 weeks, there's 4 Mondays in a month. So I needed to buy the service in order to get whatever. So I'm like, all right. So I bought the service, but once I bought the service, I'm like, well, if I'm going to buy the service, I'm gonna start interviewing a lot of people, right? And so I'm like, but it wasn't like I was gonna interview a lot. It was like I'm gonna interview more. I'm gonna do more. I'm gonna use it for more than just that. So I said, okay, I'll use a couple interviews here and there, and I'll do a couple interviews to kind of cut the tension of just working on my own project so much. But then somewhere in the middle of just doing the interviews, I kind of happened to, and I've said this to a few people, I happened to me, like I happened to me, which is that like my workaholic tendencies, my drive, my obsessive compulsion, my need to do something at a higher level than my just need to prove something to people, my I don't know, not even prove something to people, my need to prove something to myself. My just need to just do kind of took over, and that's why I've done this many in such a short period of time.
So I think you needed to prove to yourself, maybe, and then.
I don't know what further I need to prove to myself. I don't really. I
Well, I
think
think if that was probably in the
it's
beginning,
maybe
and then
paid.
and then your drive
Yeah.
to, yeah, to continue just took over, and now it's like, yeah, or an addiction. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. It's a compulsive kind of thing, but
yeah, yeah,
a lot of good has come out of it. I mean, like, Jesus, it's
absolutely.
a lot better than alcoholism. I mean,
Of course, no, of course. And there is a sense, I mean, you're connecting to people when people are not. Like, this is a deep level. I mean, it's a one-on-one thing you're doing where you're you're talking, you're having these conversations. I think it's great. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, it's been great. I mean, like, the people I've got to talk to, I've got a chance to talk to Luis Rodriguez, I've got a chance to talk to Luis Rea, I've got a chance to talk to Norma Cantu, I've got a chance to talk to Luis Solfero, I've got a chance to talk to Quetzal Flores, I've got a chance to talk
I
to
saw that one. That was good.
um, Devora Major, the former
It's
poet
crazy.
laureate of San
Yeah.
Francisco. Kim Shuck, the current poet laureate of San Francisco. I got to Lee Herrick, the former poet laureate of there. But that's just the poets. I mean, like beyond that, I've got a chance to talk to or Quetzal too. But I got a chance to talk to like all kinds of people and ask them all kinds of like really interesting stuff and.
Well, a lot of these people you mentioned, I mean, they're poets, but they're also other things, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's, yeah, they're not just poets, but
Right,
that's
right.
pretty cool.
But I mean that's just I mean those are them, but then I also talk to like truck drivers.
Oh,
I've also
really?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're gonna have all of this like on a website with their what they.
It's already all here on Facebook. I mean, like you can like I talked to the guy who was
I want to
the
see.
heir to the Cox fortune, the
What?
Cox
Fuck.
Communication.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I talked to him.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
What? Yeah, you
I
have to
talked
have
to
a
a boxing
website
expert.
where you gotta have a website where you put their names, what they do, and that's it, and their
And
video, and that
then
way you can
completely,
just scroll that way.
yeah,
That
completely curate that way. Yeah, I know.
wow, dude,
Uh,
that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. But no, I mean, thanks for asking. But I mean, it's been really interesting, and I'm really glad to have you as part of it as well. Um, so yeah, no, but I'm just
But
kind of
how are
curious.
you doing though? How are you
Yeah, let's
doing
talk
during
about that
this?
because I've been trying to like think about like what can I ask you next? But like let's
Yeah,
um
you just talk.
Yeah, let's talk. I'm good. I'm good. I'm overall I'm good. I'm happy. I remain productive. It's just otherwise I would probably. I mean, like there's all these like people writing memes and stuff like that. Like you don't need to write a book. You don't need to do all those things. You don't, and that's true. Like you're not morally obligated to do any of those things. I
Yeah.
need to do those things though,
Right.
because if I
Right.
don't do those things, I'm gonna have major problems.
Yeah, some people need to. Some people
Yeah.
started their craft, right, because of trauma or because of bad circumstances, and that was their salvation. So like, I don't know. Yeah, the memes thing is crazy. People dictating how other people should live is crazy. Like, it might help. I mean, no, I mean it might be for good, you know. Some people feel too much pressure to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. Social media is it's a little weird right now.
It is a little weird. I mean,
It's a little weird.
I kind of feel like so much of the whole like I don't even call it. I mean, I describe it like not cancel culture because that's like an aspect of it, but like meme culture. Like like there's like these 5 points on this meme, and if you don't agree to all five, like you may agree with three, but then if you don't agree with these two, then like get the fuck out of here. Like we can't unite on these three, or I don't know. I don't exactly describe it, but like meme culture is weird, and it is a lot about like telling people don't do this or do that or do that or do that do that do that. And I don't know. Like I'm not listening to you,
Yeah.
meme. I'm gonna do what you don't own me,
Yeah.
meme.
Meme, but there, it's almost also like passive aggressiveness. Like a person behind the meme that makes it, and then there's like a person who shares it, right? There's like different sets of people behind a meme. So like, what is a meme anyway? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what. There's so many memes out there,
Yeah.
but
So
and what do you? And it's so easy to share it. Like, what do you really mean by sharing a meme? What's the real story behind sharing a meme? What are you really trying to say when you're
the
sharing a meme?
cartography
I
of
don't know.
memes. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as like those canceled events and stuff, are you like
Mm.
worried that they're not? I mean, do you feel like things are going to pick up again eventually?
No, I think
Oh,
it's going to be not till next year, but I also think that I'm like ahead of almost everybody in terms of like college bookings on like Zoom and stuff like that. I'm not almost everybody, but I'm ahead of like a lot of people.
what does a head mean? How do you measure that?
I'm still making money,
Okay, you're
and
still doing it, so you're still
yeah,
booking.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
still
via
booking.
Zoom.
I'm booking the old way, and I'm finding new ways of doing things.
Good. Okay.
So like when like when things like start like when the world starts catching up, I'm gonna have all kinds of things ready to go. So I'll probably end up because everyone's having so much trouble migrating their stuff over, and when the colleges decide like okay, it's time to start paying people again, same kind of stuff, even though we just accept that the world's different, I'm gonna be like so far ahead of the game. So
I
and
hear you. That
this is why people get mad at me, and they're always like mad at this man. But like man,
why
like
did they get mad at you? Why did
people
they get
are
mad?
always fucking mad at me. I don't fucking know why. People are always mad at me, but
Oh,
it's like take care of yourself. I'll take care of the rest. That's kind of my attitude. Like they want to fucking, like they want to talk about like I don't know. I don't want to get all that, but like yeah,
yeah,
people are
yeah,
always mad. They're always upset. They're always like well, why did Matt get that, or why is he going over there? Who does he think he is? And da 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 da.
yeah. Now that's how, but the industry is like that too, right? The film industry.
Mhm.
My husband works in the film industry, and I know tons of people in the industry, and it's like the developmental. It's a development phase right now. I think people are setting up meetings, they're setting up stuff, they're getting deals made, their contracts are being signed. All
Mhm.
this stuff is, well, not signed, but they're getting ready to be signed, and so once it starts, it's gonna like take off for so many people. But like who so many people are left behind in that
Yeah,
scenario, that don't have it set, don't have it all figured out like you do and like so many people do, which sucks because now it's like a whole other system to fall behind
yeah.
is what this fucking virus is creating.
No, it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible. But
So
but the hustle stuff was horrible back then. Like all this stuff should just be like guaranteed, and we should just be able to like
of
live and
course.
make art, and not. It shouldn't be a hustle. It shouldn't be a struggle. It shouldn't be a hustle.
Yeah.
It should be like it's kind of like okay, it should just whatever. But like
Yeah.
for being a hater, it does not solve the problem. Like
No,
that
that's true, but I
yeah,
think it's a symptom of being a hater could be a symptom of a problem that is really long standing. So
yeah.
sometimes you can't hate the hater, and you can't
Pity the hater.
and
Okay,
you
okay.
can't hate why. Yeah, I mean you can too, um, but I don't know. It's like I think about with parenting right
Hmm.
now, like a lot of people are struggling, and people have always been struggling with parenting.
Yeah,
And there's a reason why there's 40,000 kids in foster care in LA, because a lot of people struggle, and their trauma and oppression and being poor and being abused fucking has its consequences. And sometimes that's like stress and not being able to be a parent, just like it is not being able to find a job and not being able to fucking catch up with this virus and how it's going to leave people behind. And
yeah,
it's all connected. Fucking Donald Trump, I think, was talking about how the other day, like, oh, it's fine with the unemployment numbers. He's like, oh, it's fine, if people are going to get better jobs because of that. They're like, what the fuck? Where does he come up with this? Like, who's losing their jobs right now? You know,
yeah,
who are the people the first to go in a big firm? It's the expendables.
yeah.
The I don't know, man.
No, it's
But
horrible. It's horrible. And no,
yeah, it's horrible.
and that's the context in which people become hustlers and haters. You know, and we should not be reduced
Yeah,
either.
oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, it's true.
yeah,
Or hateable. Or hateable. Like people talk about criminals, but sometimes criminals are great people. Just are in situations, and you know, it depends on what the crime is. All right, there are different
yeah,
crimes, but like robbing, something, taking something from a car that's outside. Like, there's a reason why someone needs something sometimes. Doesn't mean they're a bad person, right?
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy times, but we have each other. We really do, and man, there's a trash can out there, but there are we need to get like people need to come together. There's so much like turmoil right now, especially with gentrification, and you
Mhm.
know it's crazy.
Yeah,
People
speaking of
need.
gentrification, so one of the things I mean I had experience with you was that you saved me from doing a show at a at a gentrifier's at a den of gentrification. Can you tell us a little bit
Oh yeah.
about tell us a little? Can you tell us that story?
Oh shit. Oh shit. That's right. I forgot about that. You stepped to the plate. You like changed that real quick. So Rental Girl. Should I just say it?
Just say
Should I
it.
just say it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah. Rental Girl. Despicable organization.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I'm not anti home ownership.
Mhm.
I think in this world we live in, it's the only way to survive. Um, I mean, it's not the only way to survive, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
it's important. It's important.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful when our people when people of color, especially in this fucking country, can make a living and provide and flourish and thrive. I think it's beautiful. It's great. And but realtors are scumbags, and the industry it should be outlawed. There should
Yeah.
not be. I don't know how people can profit from homeowner. It's crazy. Anyways, so that's my general feeling. But there are some real estate companies that are worse than others, and Rental Girl is one of those, like almost like a predatory lender. Um, they're horrible, and we have the LA Tenants Union has had a long time. We've fought against them a lot, and they have an office in on York. Like that kind of happened during the middle of the I don't know, the clearance of York, the wipeout, and they took this like house and made it their office. It's really cute. It's painted really cute, and they have this like yard with lights, and they always have meet and greets and wine and stuff like that. And I guess they have it's right across from the new Oxy Arts building, and and we've had protests against them and stuff, but they open up, they welcome events, and I guess but a lot of the wrongs that they do, you can find them online, you can Google them. They do this thing called tenants in common. I don't want to get into it, but it's like another hour of conversation. But basically, San Francisco started this. San Francisco banks. There's like one bank that started this uh, way of selling a condo or an accessory dwelling unit on a property that basically they can sell this property to you, and you're buying it as a share along with other people in the building. So you won't necessarily own that property, you own it with other people. And if other people default on their loan, you are responsible, or they are, like, you share the responsibility of the mortgage. Which is, it's just a weird thing, and not all there's like two or three banks that do it in California. But Rental Girl is one of those organizations or realtors um, that are using tenants in common as a way to sell like 400 square foot properties for like $500,000 in Highland Park. Um, but they're really shitty people, and they also use like the term, if you look them up, like the hood, like their slogan is like, we're selling your hood, but it's like all like cutesy and weird. It's just weird, and uncomfortable for a lot of people. So but I think you guys, I was like scrolling, I don't even remember, I was scrolling down like Instagram or something, and then I saw, oh cool, like Greg Palast was is that how you pronounce his last name? I love that guy. I
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. And I was like, oh wow, Matt Cedillo and Greg Palast are gonna be together, like doing something. I'm like, where's that gonna be? Rental Girl. And I saw, I was like, what? So then I think I like text you immediately,
Yeah.
or messaged you, and it was like a couple weeks after we had done this huge protest over there and everything, and and you guys were like, and then we did the thing in Avenue 50, and Kathy's like, yes, great, let's have them on, here, and then in like 2 hours it was changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, you did great.
Yeah.
But and what happened on your end?
Well, I at first got mad because I was like, what the fuck? Like, like coming at me, like, how hard I work. And then I calmed down and I was like, all right, this is tangible. This is actionable. I fucked up. I should have researched this. And that was that. I mean, I didn't book Rental
Yeah,
Girl.
how do
That
you
Rental Girl was booked by somebody else. I just got the
That's
address. And
right,
so,
that's
I
right.
mean, that was kind of like, but it wasn't like, I was like, where can I do this? Oh, Rental Girl. They seem hip.
No, I know, that's weird. Yeah, yeah.
But but I should have, this is it's happened to me. It's like if I were just starting out doing things, then I would not say that like I should have known better. But I've done things for a number of years, and I have trial and error, and I have done things. Especially there was one incident in Boyle Heights I can really remember very, very vividly, where I was opening up for Lee Camp. I thought that was really exciting, but it was
Yeah.
right across the street from Corazon del Pueblo, right at that place that was a big part of the gentrification, right? And I made a speech about gentrification on stage, about like whatever. So that was kind of my way of redeeming or something like that. I don't know, but like that wasn't a good look. So like like I should have known better. So I was like, all right, I accept this. I will fix this, and then I fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is there room? That's a whole other discussion. Like, is there room to fix things? Do we, who gets room to fix things? And yeah, I mean, it's great when you can. People should be
Well,
set
see,
in their
what I
ways.
appreciate about those that you contacted me before the event had gone. 'Cause it'd been a lot harder to fix it if I had done it.
Yeah, I mean, things can go quietly, kind of just, um, yeah, things. I don't know, but Yeah, it's harder to fix if it's, I don't know, man.
But
Yeah,
the event at Avenue 50 was great. Packed the place.
it was packed, right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
wish I could have gone. I could. Yeah. Um. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I forgot, and yeah, I remember. I think I was in contact. I think you got me in contact with the guy who put it together, and
yeah,
that was weird.
yeah. But we were able to fix it real quick, and we were able to put everything together, and it was
Cool.
it was good. It was a good show. And it was it was an important thing. It was an important thing not to it was a good I think it was a good lesson though. It was a good object lesson, not just for me, but for like how things should really be done. Like if there's a problem, we can solve it. And it doesn't have to turn into a bunch of memes and counter memes.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, there is if yeah. I mean, it depends on who's having those conversations, but also like, I mean, it's really important to talk about where you're having your events. And I mean, I have a whole chapbook on like place and all that stuff and how to like how to create equitable spaces and all that. But one of the first things is like the space. And because then who do you want? Who's your audience? Who do you want to be at your event? And so when you pick Rental Girl, like yeah, it doesn't make sense. And obviously it wasn't you or Greg or whoever is in that event was doing that event. Um, and yeah, it's just there's a whole bunch of questions that that come from something like that. As long as those things are looked at, also you can fix an event, you can fix a problem, right? But we need to make sure like these problems don't happen again. Um, yeah, it's like with in a bigger, in the like a bigger picture. I know how you feel about all this stuff, but like a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, and so we want to vote for Joe Biden. And fuck, I mean, the guy who has sexually harassed people, and a guy who has a shitty history uh, with a lot of communities and populations. And like, like, how do we fix that? How do we fix all of this? And so yeah, I mean,
Well, I
if
mean,
we do, yeah,
yeah, but here's the thing I think about that though. Even if that's the standpoint, then the tangible thing is we really do have to abolish the electoral college. I mean, just for votes to be counted in this country.
yeah,
That's not me being rhetorical. That's not
yeah,
revolutionary. That's not whatever. I
yeah,
mean, because the
yeah, of
reality
course,
is Trump lost the last election by 3 million votes,
yeah,
and we just act like that's normal. I mean, like there's
oh
a lot
yeah,
of people about him that were like, "Oh no, no, no," but then when you bring up the electoral college, in fact, they lost by 3 million votes. People were like, "Well, yeah, but that's the system." And, oh yeah, that's the way it is. Like, wait a minute, no. Like the
yeah,
fact of the matter is, you want to talk about like other countries getting involved. You want to talk about this, well, our own country doesn't even count its own votes. I mean, what are we talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah.
So until that's fixed, you can't point to anything else until that's fixed. The fact of the matter that,
No, 100%. But
and
we can do it all.
of
We
course,
can vote for someone even though the vote doesn't matter and it's the delegates and all that, but we can vote for someone and to remove someone else and also
mhm,
try to dismantle the electoral college. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, or can we?
Well, I would think that dismantling the electoral college is not independent of what you're describing. I think that
Right.
dismantling the electoral
Of
college
course.
is the most important step towards that because you're talking about especially for Californians,
Yeah.
because the reality is that Trump loses California by 4 million votes, and he loses the general election by 3 million votes, right? So that's 1 million more. So the electoral college essentially grabbed the California vote and threw it in the trash, and like that's going to happen again and again and again. And if you look at like the amount of like I forget what the exact math is on the electoral college, but it's like there's 500,000 Wyomingites and there's 40 million Californians, right? So like just in terms of just in terms of representation in the Senate, that means one Wyomingite is represented at the level of 80 Californians. So there's all these kinds of weird things that are totally undemocratic that
Oh
exist in
yeah.
our country, and like you can't before we even talk about like I'm going to vote for this guy, vote for that guy. There's things like gerrymandering, the electoral college. the
Right.
Senate itself is
Right.
inherently undemocratic. So
But also having a Republican, there are no good Republicans. I mean, yes, there are Democrats are just equally bad, and I'm talking about a binary system, but having a Republican administration will make dismantling anything that much harder. You know, by a long stretch. So people, yeah, I mean, it's not. They're not equal. They are not.
well,
If anybody says Democrats and Republicans are equal, it's crazy talk.
what I'm saying though is that the dirty tricks that are applied, or the systematic dirty tricks that are applied, those need to go away. So you can even have a vote. You can even have like, hey, do you want this water that's like 70% poisoned, or this water that's
Yeah.
40% poisoned? You can even make that choice, but you can't even make those choices under electoral college. You can't even make those choices under gerrymandering. You can't even make, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't even have a real vote count until those things. So
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
mean, yeah, but I mean, I don't know, but water. I mean, there is dirty water. We have
right,
oil. Yeah, there's fracking, and there's dirty water in our own city here, and those things can change without a government. Those changes can be made. So
yeah.
whether or not, like, there are people working on that, and more of us should call to make that call to action, like just take care of that. But yeah, and you're right though. It's all connected, and but I don't know. There are things um, that that need to happen that won't happen. It's yeah. There's a lot of things that can be made worse and can be affected by a more evil administration or institution. Um, that a lot of us are privileged enough to not experience firsthand. Um, and it's a fact. And we can consider the civil rights movement, and little for many people those are big steps, but for some of us, we might think they're little steps, but those things matter. And it wasn't Republicans who you know who stopped the KKK. For sure wasn't the Republicans, because they're allowing it to continue. And so are Democrats, but on a lesser extent.
So what can we find? What can we expect from what are the upcoming projects come up? We're hit the hour now. Hit the hour
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. I know. I gotta go to work.
Okay.
I gotta go go to work. Yeah, the call, alternativefield.com or avenue50studio.com. There's a call to submit your poetry. Right now until May 22nd. We have like, again, like 350 poems to go through, but there's three prizes: $300, $200, $100, and then everyone's getting a small honorarium. Anyone who's published, and then and also copies of the chapbook. So there's that, and then I'm trying to survive right now, and one day at a time. There's just a lot going on in my family and whatever. So, like a lot of people, but once things get back, I have alternative field, and I'm gonna try to go full force, and try to equitably hire at least one person um, to help out with that. And so I'm always accepting donations for poetry books written by writers of color, Indigenous, Black writers. And what else? Yeah, that's the focus. And there's really nothing else. I really like my gin. Gin's my drink of choice. I've been drinking gin lately. That's the latest. Not every day, but with lemonade, it's amazing. I had no idea. And yeah, and
All right. Well, we joined this hour by Jessica Ceballos Campbell. Really much appreciated, and hope to talk to you soon.
thank you so much, Matt. You're amazing.
All right. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.